happy 2024. Happy New Year.
God.
I know. Call this meeting to order. Thank you all for being here on this lovely January day. Yeah, I got some exciting things to talk about today, looking ahead. So moving first to approval of the minutes. So the minutes have been distributed and read. Are there any noted corrections to the minutes?
No, they were perfect. Every single one.
every
single thing that you ever submitted, Nick.
Retiring in the future.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Going in our Secretary Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Then I'm going to go ahead and motion to approve the minutes. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the minutes are approved. Okay, moving on next to the financials.
Hello,
Talk
everyone.
about money, yeah.
Happy New Year. Woo. I'm going to talk about two things tonight. First of all, I'm going to do a wrap of the 2023 budget, and then I'm just going to give an overview of 2024. I'm going to do this fast. Okay, so bottom line, y'all, we spent all but $1,000 of our money. That's really good. So we spent a total of $43,140 on our arts project grant cycle, $30,000 on our operations grant cycle, and $50,000 on our emerging artist grant cycle. Woo! That means for those three standard grant cycles of the year, we spent a total of $120,000 and 140 cents. I'm sorry, $123,140. Our budget is that big. I have to learn how to say bigger numbers like that. So that's freaking great. Yay. The only money we didn't spend in our grant cycle funds was the $500 that we just had left over in the BUA grant cycle. And that was just because, like, of the projects we awarded, there was just nothing that also fell into that BUEA category. So that's why that is there. And basically we didn't lose that money. That's just being reabsorbed into the BUEA's 2024 budget. So didn't lose anything there. And then, and if you remember, so we started with kind of like general fund and local income tax grant specific funds from the city council. And we'd also allocated a little money for emerging artist workshops that we didn't end up spending. So we took some of that emerging artist money and put it towards those three grant cycles. We also did the same for the public art funds. So if you remember, we had a total of about $16,500 in public art projects and public art specific grant funds available. And we ended up taking a little chunk of that money too and putting it towards our typical art grant cycles. And that's just because we just had a lot of grant applications that were really good this year. And also, we just didn't end up getting to a point where we were ready to spend that public art grant funds until much later in the year. But we did end up spending a grand total of $9,500 on public art grants at the end of the year. And if you remember that, that's actually the grant cycle that we approved at the December full commission meeting. And this was those grants that we gave out as part of the rollout of the public art master plan. So these were really cool grant applications for folks like doing arts projects that are specifically community or small business oriented. So we had allocated ultimately $10,000 for that cycle, and we had $500 left over. And that's just because, so this application period for 2023 was open for a very short period of time. And again, that's just because of the time of year that this was rolled out. I think, it would have been greater if we could have kept it open longer, if we would have gotten more applications. But I think we decided ultimately that none of the projects that we reviewed were worth getting that final $500 to, so we just kept it. So that amount of money will go back into the city's overhaul bank, right? But that will not affect the bottom line of funds that we have to work with in 24. And what will happen most likely towards the middle of this year, this has historically happened since I've been here under the previous administration, is the city goes back through and looks at each department's budget and what's left over from the previous year. And they generally decide to reallocate a chunk of that fund back to the city departments. So maybe we'll see a little return of that $500 that we could put back towards these grants in '24. But again, as you know, we have a new administration now, so there might be some financial practices changing. I will keep you posted. So that is where we landed at the end of '23. So again, we spent a total of $123,140 on our typical 3 grant cycles of the year. We spent $9,500 on public art grants. We spent a total of $132,640. Yeah, go us. Any questions? Okay, great. So, yeah.
Just one thing. So we spent on operational grants this year. Okay, I can't see that far.
So we spent $30,000.
30,000
Correct.
operational.
Yes.
Okay, and will you just go over what we spent on each grant cycle?
Sure. So for arts projects, we spent $43,140.
Project.
For operations, $30,000. And then for emerging, you actually need to look down here. We spent a total of $50,000 on emerging artists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are we going to have a discussion sometime about proportionally how we want within?
Yes, but
How
that
we
will
want-
happen
because-
in the grants subcommittee meeting.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I think this year was skewed off by not knowing how much we had in the beginning to work with, correct?
Yeah, and I think there's definitely an understanding of that, and I think just, so I think there's definitely going to be a robust conversation about which cycle we do when and how much funds we want to start, like with an idea in our mind, and how we might share some information about number of grants we're anticipating awarding or something like that, just to kind of manage expectations of our applicants.
Yeah. So, I remember we got hit real hard with the project grants because we got a ton of requests and a lot of really good ones, and I think that kind of put us into weird oh man, some tough choices here.
Right, yeah, and I think that figure's light comparatively to the others. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so now I'm just going to quickly review what we're dealing with this year. So if you remember, this is super cool, y'all. I'm very excited about this. So we started '23 with a total of $50,000 just in the general allotment from the general fund that we were given for grants. Council upped that by $25,000 at the end of this year. So we have a total of $75,000. So that's just a base. So in addition to that just budget line of $75,000, we will continue to accrue that annual 2% increase. And that's represented by that $1,017. So in addition to that general fund line of just over $76,000, in our local income tax budget line, we will have $15,000. And the BUEA was so happy with the projects and the operations grants that we were awarded as part of the '23 cycle. We were we did a really good job of spending their money, and they really liked that. They upped our amount from $40,000 to $50,000. So for those 3 grant cycles, or however we decide to allocate this money in the coming year, we're going to have a total of $141,017 to work with. Have fun, y'all. Okay. In addition to that, for other local income tax funds we're gonna have that $5,000 again to work on emerging artist workshops. I'm very optimistic that we are going to spend that money this year, and Chaz and Christina have offered to take up the initiative of planning those workshops out. So that's something that they're gonna dive into early this year. So looking forward to hearing more about what they propose and getting that money out the door. And then again, we'll have $16,500 to work with for other public art projects. So this will be things like, most likely, I think we're going to do another public art grant cycle, and then we'll have a little more wiggle room with other things we could potentially fund. But again, that's something that we'll discuss in the public art subcommittee meetings. And so that's 2024. Any questions about that?
Okay, so next on the agenda, we're gonna give it back to Holly for she's gonna present a little on sort of a combination of like city and like but I think also touching on BAC plans for the year 2024. Just to kind of like look a little bit further down the agenda, we do have time for a group discussion on like priorities and things that we would like to see either the city or just our general ideas of like what would be good for what would be good to prioritize this year in the arts, in supporting artists. And so I think any sort of questions or any follow-up to what Holly is going to present now should be specifically focused on what she brings up. And then after that, after we hear from our public art chair and our grants chair, then we'll sort of like have this picture of, you know, kind of what's coming in the weeks and months ahead, and then we can like have that broader discussion on priorities. I just wanted to like kind of like set that out, that like this is not the time to sort of like delve into broad priorities. We'll get to that a little bit later in the agenda.
Okay, cool. And I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. You're giving me 10-minute
10 minutes.
limit, and that includes Q&A. Okay, so first I just want to say in general, we have a new mayor. We have a new cabinet. So we have a new department head. We've been happy to welcome the new administration. They've been taking some time in the past couple of weeks since they started doing listening sessions. So they've been meeting with other departments to say, okay, what are you really proud of? What do you love doing? What are challenges? What resources do you need to do your job better? The Department of Economic and Sustainable Development had our meeting with the mayor and the deputy mayor about that topic this morning. I thought it went great. And I think my immediate takeaways were that one thing that this administration is going to be focusing on in the early months is just thinking about new systems and resources and protocol they can implement citywide to make it easier for us to do our jobs. I am really excited about this because this means that like processes for like getting contracts for our grantees out the door and then getting those payments made in a more timely manner will just be easier. So we're super excited about that. So in addition to being excited to see what innovations might come there, we're very excited to welcome Jane Coopersmith back to the Department of Economic and Sustainable Development as our new director. She's amazing. Some of you might remember that she was actually previously the assistant director for small business in our department, so she knows how things work. So I'm really excited because like this means that our department is not going to have to spend this extra time leveling her up with like how to approve a time card and things like that. She just knows how to do it. But it also means that in addition to just knowing how things work, she understands what our department's needs are, and I'm really excited for her to be an advocate for this. She definitely appreciates and understands the importance of the arts, so I think we have a really good advocate of her. And I am also so happy to go back to arts full time. So very exciting changes. I will say, I think I think Carrie strikes me as someone, she does a lot of listening. She's slow and deliberate. I think that is a good thing. So I think things are going to be rolled out slowly. And I am feeling at this point in time empowered to be able to continue the things that I'm going to share now, but I think there are going to be some questions I'm not going to be able to answer at this point in time because she has other things going on, thinking about like a large-scale communications plan and things like that we just don't know the results of yet. We don't know where those are going to land. So I just want to be really careful that as we're doing our work together, as I'm doing my work, we're not replicating work that she's already doing or causing a conflict, of like something that her team is rolling on. But having said that, she is also, transparency is very important to her, so I'm not imagining ourselves getting in a situation where they're doing something and we don't know about it, so we try to do it on our own. I think the communications chain will be good. And again, our department chair, Jane, will be really good at making sure information makes its way to us, and then we'll bring it to you all. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a couple just just kind of listing off some of the BAC projects I'm going to be focusing on. So one thing I'm going to be focusing on a lot in the first 6 months of the year is wrapping a few Arts Commission public art projects. So this includes things like our good friend Stefan Rice's Trades District installation OT 987. Okay, it's gonna happen. And I told Chaz that I had a deadline of her birthday, which is tomorrow, to make sure it was gonna happen. And yesterday I got photos of the pieces being fabricated. Yay. So yeah. So I'm. Yeah. So.
This is a going away present for Nick.
Yeah. So look for that installation. We're targeting May. We'll also continue with the first painting of the Duke murals. That's an amazing project that Christina has done an excellent job heading up. We're also going to be releasing the call for arts proposals for the first phase of Hopewell in the coming weeks. Super excited about that. And we'll talk more in detail about this and our plans for the entire year and our subcommittee meeting for public art. And then we've got grants, of course. So I'll be working with Elliot in the subcommittee, again, just to decide what the cadence of our cycles are going to look like, how we're going to allocate funds. In our conversations about like just things we were reading in grant applications last year, I think there were some things that kind of piqued our interest and made us question, should we do a grant cycle specific to space or kilns, so I think we're definitely going to have some conversations about that in the first couple of months of the year. And then we're going to get grant report forms out. Yeah. And I talked with Polly about this earlier today, and they've agreed to kind of step up and help us just expedite that process. So thank you, Polly, for jumping in there. So super excited. So that's the BAC. And I realize one thing I've never done is really give you a bigger picture of what the heck I'm doing in my office when I'm not making grant payments. So I'm just going to talk about other projects that are kind of on the horizon for me this year. And again, I'm going to try to go through this quickly. I shared earlier today with Gerard an 8-page quarter-by-quarter to-do list for this. That will take 8 days to review. So I'm just going to roll through this quickly. And again, so this is work that I'm going to be focusing on me and Chaz, contractors that we have around the city to help us with this work. And then we'll be pulling you in as advisors where we need it. So in addition to everything I just talked about, we are going to focus really hard this year in securing space for more affordable artist studios. We have a budget line to do that this year. I am really excited about this. I don't want to, we've got a couple things in the work, and I anticipate we'll be able to announce something cool by the end of the first quarter, but I just don't want to go into details right now. Don't want to jinx it, but very excited about that. But again, that's going to be a big priority for us this year, affordable places for our local artists to make cool stuff. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to continue our work with the IU Arts and Humanities Council to launch a web-based artist resource platform. So this is something we've talked a lot about in the past. This is like the one-stop shop for anybody who lives in Bloomington or is coming to Bloomington, can learn about events, but also resources of how to get a grant or where to get a grant, where to show work, where to sell work. I want to take a class on this. Where can I do it? So we're going to be launching that. We're working with an amazing collective out of Indianapolis. The people who run it, it's a collective called Second Street Creative, actually both went to IU. They have an affinity for Bloomington. They'll be on the ground and holding some public feedback sessions probably in March. So as that information is coming available and we're planning the details of that, I'll definitely let you all know because I definitely want your feedback.
Can you add, they understand art too, because one of them is on the board of Butter Art Festival that happens in Indy, just FYI, so it's kind of cool tie-in as well.
Yeah. And they also do the websites for Genkan Culture, who sponsors Butter, and they also are revamping the website for the Indianapolis Arts Council. So we're in good hands. Very excited about that. Oh yes, and then Chaz is going to really continue and grow her amazing work, just connecting and engaging with our emerging artist community. So her job is really going to be going out into the community, learning what our emerging artists' needs are, and providing, and then just like connecting them with the resources to do that. And as part of that, she will again be working with Christina to do some workshops to really level our emerging artists up to being amazing professionals in the field. And of course, she's going to continue her amazing artist parties. Thank you, Chaz. We're aiming for about 1 per quarter this year. Okay, and so again, this BAC stuff, the city work I just listed, I'm really, that's going to be my focus for the first 6 months of the year. And then in the second half of the year, I would like to turn my attention to developing a true cultural plan for the city. And I'm going to read you some of my notes on this because it's too much. So this is in order to bolster pride and stewardship of the arts and the legacy of Bloomington and activate a sense of place and community connection here. And this is going to manifest in things like more pieces of public art downtown and thinking about how we can work more collaboratively with our amazing partners like the Waldron and the Buskirk Chumley. So that's going to be some of the work. And then in addition to that, it's like, okay, we're going to make ourselves look awesome. We're going to bolster our partnerships with the folks who are helping us make this look awesome. But then all of that is really to elevate Bloomington as a destination for the arts, as a known place that people want to come and live and work in as artists, but also a place people want to come visit and see super duper cool things. So I know that sounds like a lot. I'm going to do a portion of this work. I'm not doing the majority of this work. I think what I have learned from trying to kind of launch a smaller downtown public art program with smaller entities in the past year is you need experts who get paid money to do this work. So I'm going to be looking for a consultant to help me do this work. So it will really be an initiative spearheaded by myself and the consultant, and then we'll bring in the Bloomington Arts Commission, of course, stakeholders from around town and artists and others to really inform that plan. And again, what I really want to come out of this is I want a plan that says, hey, here are 10 awesome walls in downtown Bloomington where we know businesses want art. Put murals there, put some lights there, put a sculpture there. Here's a great opportunity to engage a local artist. Here's an amazing opportunity to bring in a national artist to do a thing to raise our visibility. So that is what I'm going to be looking to these folks to help me do. Because again, on my own, even with all of you amazing folks and amazing Chaz, like it's not enough to pull something like this off. And then just a couple more things. Again, thinking about communications and our visibility. I love our definition of public art. I love it so much. I love to proudly go say that in public. It is amazing. Thank you to everyone who helped put that definition together. I want everyone who lives in Bloomington to just breathe that or just have it in them, So I want to make an effort to create a public community-wide understanding of what is public art. I think that's incredibly important. I want to do the same thing with our city colleagues because I think we all agree through the Gateway issues last year, some people need some leveling up and understanding of what we are talking about when we talk about a visible, designy thing that is going out to represent our community. So the way I'm going to do this to start is I'm going to do a presentation to every city department that is I am calling non-seriously, what is an art? So I'll be doing that. And then I'd like to do a couple of strategically timed presentations to council. So as you probably know, we have 5 new council members this session. So I get the sense that they're gonna support us, but I wanna hit this sweet spot just as they're like leveling up and getting excited about this stuff. I just want to hit them so they get super excited, and especially as they're thinking about the 2025 budget. So that's something I'll be thinking about as well. And then again, I'll be working with the Public Art Subcommittee just to continue to spread the word about the Public Art Master Plan. And then what I would like to do, and then again, this is going to be in the second half of the year because it just won't happen before then, I would love to get a group of stewards in the community together to lead public art tours. So this would be a team of 5 docents saying, these are my top 10 pieces of public art in the community, and I'm going to do a 45-minute walking tour for folks of these things. I want these docents to come up with these lists on their own. I want every docent to come up with their unique presentation, but I also see through this project, this is the way just to make those folks who are involved in this initiative stewards of those public art. Because one thing I've found in this community is some things get damaged, public art gets damaged, and I can't have eyes on everything, but if we can get people talking more about these pieces of public art and loving these pieces of public art, they'll take responsibility and they'll let me know if something's been tagged or damaged so I can take care of that more efficiently. But again, that is just another initiative to get people out looking at art. And we did a public art tour as part of Exhibit Columbus Bloomington Day back in May, and people really liked it. So it went so much better than I thought it was going to go. So that's it. And then the last thing, wait, no, I'm going to say 3 more things, sorry. I'm sorry. I want to acknowledge that like part of like this public art tour will feed into the public art database. I know that that is something we've talked about a lot, and nothing has like gotten done. And I realized earlier today, we are looking at it, when we think about this database, it is a huge database. It goes back to 2006, and I think where I've failed in the past is just trying to tackle it all at once. And I realized, no, that's not gonna get anything done. So instead, I think what I'm gonna do is I am gonna work with the IU Center for Cultural Affairs just to get a student intern, and I'm just gonna say, look, Powell, let's start with 10. Let's start with 10 pieces of the most recent public art in the community, and let's go from there. So, but again, that will be the second half of the year. And then a couple of just general things I'm thinking about as I'm going into every conversation in this position is, how can we just encourage people to have the highest standards of progressive design when they think about things about developments in the Hopewell district and when they think about what the convention center is going to look like? I just want to make sure that we, as a community who views ourselves as progressive and innovative, is actually living that in our choices for what we are building in the community. So that's something I'm going to be doing. And then again, kind of with that, I'm going to be reaching out to some entities that I just learned more about when I was in the interim role. So this is like working with folks like the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation, the Mill, and IU Innovates and Visit Bloomington. It's like they know art is there and they know they want to do something with it. I just don't think they know what to do. And so I understand why it's so easy to go back to other parts of innovation. So in the second half of the year, I'll be reaching out to some of those entities just to let them know we're here and see if there are opportunities for collaboration going forward. Okay, I'm done.
Any other questions for Holly?
Holly tripled the budget.
I just have one thing. Well, you're looking for space for studio artists. It would be phenomenal if we could have if there could be some kind of space where art classes, art lessons could be done for anybody who wants to with any age group, because it's solely lacking here. I've got people who would love to teach and love to do it, and the only place, I mean, there's just no place to go. And I think that would be extraordinarily good.
Thank you, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thanks y'all.
Yeah.
Suzanne?
Yep. Hey, Suzanne.
I had 2 things to say. First of all,
Who's gonna say it?
Hey, Susan.
Hey, Suzanne.
Can you speak a little closer into your mic?
I don't think the mic's connected. Is actually.
Yeah, we can only hear a lot of background noise.
I'll just type it.
Oh, there we go. No, we can hear you now.
They can hear me now. Okay.
Not really. No.
Yeah.
Just get a little closer and you'll be good.
I don't think it's the mic because it sounds like it's just picking up from the.
Try one more time. I can repeat it if we.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might just type it.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
So give me a minute.
Okay.
Something else.
Okay. Thanks.
Is she in New York City? Sure doesn't look like Bloomington.
Yes. Oh, yes, thank you.
Mute her.
Agreed.
Oh, so I'm sorry, let me clarify, Susan. I actually do mean community members, not just students. Yeah, this would be open to anybody over the age of 18. And maybe in the future, maybe next year, opening it up to high school kids, because that would also be awesome. Yeah. Okay,
Great.
You know, Holly, on the master plan, for public art, I mean, I'd be happy to work with someone, anybody who could do the mapping, the data entry. There's a whole, I know at, was it part of O'Neill or SPIA? There's a class that does that, and they're always looking for, different projects. It's a technical thing. I mean, if, I just don't know how to do it, and I really don't want to learn.
Yeah. I don't know either. We actually have an amazing mapping department who is actually, they have a beta version of public art in Bloomington, and they actually have the ability to turn it into like a self-guided tour, so we could potentially do QR codes as signage on pieces of public art. I just need someone to help me communicate with them to get the work done.
I mean, if they know how to do it, how hard I mean, I'd be happy to do it. It's not, it's not that hard to do.
The technological part has never been the hang up.
Yeah.
It's always been who has the time and organization to like build the database of content. That's always been the next step.
Well, it was started, a pretty good database was started by a couple of guys that's on, I forget where it is, on Wikipedia or on one of them. That was in the stuff that I sent to you. And it just, I mean, I've organized here some pretty big things. I mean, that's nothing to do because, obviously I have time that I'm sure that most people don't have that kind of time. And it's not like it's subjective, like should I include this or shouldn't I?
I thought the best part is too.
Yeah.
It's kind of. We should talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the list dates back to when I was chair of the public art committee,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
we had a plan for people to populate it, and no one did it. Myself included. Literally, no one did. So it's just a matter of it being prioritized.
Yeah.
So.
And, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
This is maybe more a question for Gerard, but do we have like an updated, like new commissioner document like list, or like just like the public art master plan, rules or regulations or
Oh, like
whatever
a
you.
welcome packet kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause since we have like updated stuff, because I'm like, sometimes I want to go back and read some of our old documentation, but I'm like, we have new stuff. So
You got
I
a
will-
welcome packet?
yeah, I got like an email with a couple things.
Yeah, that's the thing. It hasn't been updated. That's the thing I will work with the new secretary on updating that
Yeah.
and creating that.
Yeah, because
So-
I'm not new, but I would.
Sure. Right.
I need
yeah.
a.
No, it's good for everyone.
Yeah,
for sure,
yeah. New year.
Thanks for bringing that up. I'll add that to my notes.
Yeah.
Things to prioritize.
Let me just wrap this meeting's conversation about the spreadsheet and database. So I thought I had identified somebody that I could contract with to do this work, and unfortunately, they're no longer able to do this. I just found this out yesterday, so I'm still trying to wrap my head around, okay, what is the easiest way we can do this? So this is something we can also continue to discuss in the Public Art Subcommittee. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Holly. There's a lot of exciting things there. Well, let's move on to some updates from the subcommittee chairs. First, over to public art.
Yeah.
Supernat.
Sounds good. So I don't have too much to add from kind of what Holly mentioned. And then also, since we're meeting now, the Public Art Subcommittee is now meeting on the second Friday of every month. Is that how we're working it out? I was like, that's what tomorrow is, right? The second one? Yeah. Not tomorrow, 2 days. I don't know what day it is at any given time. My brain hasn't powered back on after 3 weeks of not thinking about anything other than tamales, which was great. That was my favorite thing to think about. But yeah, so we're now meeting the second Friday of every month, just because First Friday tends to be kind of crazy historically for the arts in this town. So maybe maybe kind of nice to not be meeting on that day. So we'll be catching up then. But some of the big things that we're looking forward to in 2024 is really getting that Hopewell Call for Artists out and kind of settling some more of our plans firmly there in that space. I know that we had a lot of conversations about what could go there and what maybe should go there, but now we'll be nailing down some artists and some plans on that front. So that's really exciting. Obviously, we approved all of those awesome public art grants at our last monthly meeting. And we, Holly sent out all of those emails, and everyone seems to be excited to get going on that. So a lot of the early part of the year will be kind of working through the implementation of that and making sure that we're there to help if anybody has any questions. This is a new granting program, but also something that we just want to, we're still working out the kinks in this plan. But I'm really excited about all of the projects that we funded and excited to see some new projects going up that are community run. So that'll be happening. And then obviously, Christina's been working really hard on the Duke substation murals. So that's going to be happening soon and chugging along. But as far as I'm, excited to hear that the Stefan stuff is also moving forward. So there'll be more updates on that in the near future. But yeah, I think circling back really quickly to the public art grants, outside of the implementation of it, we're also going to talk about reopening that grant for this year and figuring out our rolling basis on and how we work that out. But yeah, that's the big thing. I would love to do more public art walks personally. I think that would be really cool to see more of this year, and that could also probably help with the inventory stuff as we work through. So yeah.
Natalie, what time are the meetings, and can we Zoom them or what?
So we will be in this room at 12:15 on Friday, and that is. I think we do have the potential to Zoom as long as we make quorum, which quorum for us I believe was it 4 potentially?
3 or 4.
Yeah. So there is a Zoom option in this space if we do end up. I know we talked to the subcommittee about maybe meeting at the new art supply store because they have a common space, or kind of switching it up, like going to the library, things like that. Those they all need to be public spaces first, but they also, not all of them will have the technology that this space does. So we're such a small group, it would be nice to be able to meet in person, but
Yeah, but Zoom is an option. There's a link to connect via Zoom in the meeting invite, but we do have to have in-person quorum to do official business. And it looks like, I think it's 3 that we need, so.
Well, if I have to show up, I will. But it's my painting day, so I like to not show up if I could.
Yeah, sounds good. We should probably, I didn't think about the quorum stuff until right now. So I think we have quorum to meet on Friday, if the 3 of us are there.
Yeah, we're good.
Christina? Okay, cool. So yeah, then if you need to Zoom in, we could do or Google Meet, whatever. Wait, is this Zoom or Google? This is
No, we'll
Zoom.
let me know in the morning.
Okay.
if I have
What
to
lets
show
us
up or
activate this
not.
guy.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Cool. I think that's all from me. So any other questions?
Thanks, Natalie.
No worries.
Elliot?
Hey everyone. Yeah, so just getting back into gear as well, public art, very grateful that we have more money this year. It will not solve our problems, but hopefully it'll ease some of the excruciating pain that we feel when we have to make that final cut round after every cycle. So we are also meeting in person, I presume here. Yeah, unless anyone has a better idea. But I'll be in touch about that. That's the 3rd Friday still. So it'll be after public art, so I'll get to see if meeting in person on a Friday at noon works for y'all and see how it works for us. Just stay tuned for us working out what the calendar will be for the 3 cycles this year. Still haven't hashed that out yet, but we'll get there very soon. So that's all. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Elliot. Okay, notes from me. So one quick thing before we get to the discussion is, I think it's come up before, but I wanted to just run it by the group before we make a potential change, is to push back the start time of the meeting to 5:15, just to give folks a little bit at the end of the day, a little bit more time to get over here. I don't think we need to extend the end time of the meeting. I think 75 minutes in most cases. And I think we'll know well ahead of time if we need to go longer, but I think we can still do like a 5:15 to 6:30 meeting time. So just like an informal kind of like poll here. Does anyone have any objections to that?
That's great. I would have been on time today.
Okay. Then yeah, I think I'll work with Holly on. I don't know what all we need to do to like.
We need to do a vote. We need to do a public. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right, time to put
Yes.
your money
Yeah.
where your mouth is, y'all. This is going on record. Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to vote on changing the start of the meeting time. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of moving the start of the meeting time 15 minutes to 5:15, say aye.
Aye.
All of New York says
Yeah.
aye. Any opposed, say nay.
I abstain courteously.
Right. Nick's parting gift to us is keeping us at 5. No. Okay, yeah, the motion passes. My assumption is that this will start at the next meeting, but I will confirm that in my midpoint email and let you all know. But I think we can plan on February on starting at around 5:15. So, all right, look at this, the impromptu votes. All right, okay, discussion time. So I want to have a pretty broad discussion that's rooted in kind of like thinking more like less practically, although we can certainly ground it if we, if you want to, but really just thinking about the year ahead, thinking of the commission and us as ambassadors and liaisons of the public. What are like priorities that we should have and we being like the city of Bloomington, not us as a commission, but like when it comes to public art support, and so yeah, I kind of just want to hear the group's thoughts, and thinking, you know, specifically about the year ahead. Although if you have like a grand vision, I guess now would be the time to share that. But thinking in the year 2024, I guess if we're going to ground it, that's how we'll ground it. But yeah, so a real broad just discussion on priorities and goals. And I of course would love to hear Nick and Rachel as well, because again, this isn't necessarily grounded in the BAC's work. This is more just like, I think of it as like, you know, discussion that could lead to feedback that could lead to action.
Yeah, I just want to throw one thing out. You know, I know, you know, based on Holly's report and previous conversations, there is this interest on focusing on public art downtown. I have no issue with that, but one thing that I wish had happened over the last few years that is not, and directly ties in with the public art mapping project, is a more strategic approach to how to place public art and public art programming outside of the city center. That was, you know, but before coming up with the idea of like the walking tours and things like that, part of the goal of the mapping was to quantifiably like identify where there were art deserts in town. And, you know, I think that what my instincts are is that, you know, you get outside of downtown, you get outside of areas with like walkable developments where maybe there are elements of that sort of built in, or historic neighborhoods, there's not a lot. And I think particularly if we're looking to engage visiting populations who may be staying in hotels or Airbnbs that are not in the downtown corridor, or if we also want to engage students and further break down the town and gown divide, part of that is putting art where those people are and will be. And yes, they'll be in the downtown corridor, but I would encourage the commission to just think about how to make that truly actionable. And maybe the neighborhood grants are a good avenue to that. But you know, I think if there's an opportunity down the road to do something larger scale, it's worth a thought.
I just want to add to that a little bit. We were talking about, I think it was at the last meeting, people were just throwing out a lot of ideas that I thought were particularly good. And one of the things we were talking about with some of the grants, the project, the last grant cycle that we had, that if we could work, have a communication with Parks and Rec, and work on other things. There were a lot of people in the grants that I thought could do things on this, you know, scaled down versions of what was done with Paint Bloomington. It really is easy to do. It's not that complicated, and that would also be, to Nick's point, it would be reaching out to different areas, which is something that we talked about, but we just haven't done it. And I understand how hard it is to get things done if you don't have somebody just, you know, who can devote their energy to it. But there's certain, I think we have some people here who are maybe more retired or more, you know, have easier time. I mean, it's a project that I personally would really believe in, is getting it out. So that was one thing. The other thing is that listening to all the phenomenal things that you were saying and the ideas and the concepts, there's one thing on top of it all that seems to me to be a big necessity. And again, that was something that we were talking about the last time, which is the concept of branding. And I've been really giving this a lot of thought and reading a great deal about it. And what I would love to do is just anybody who's interested interested in developing it any further, just doing an email among us, just with places to, there's some really good sites that address it. There are really bad sites that just talk about a lot of nothing. And I am really convinced that there's a way that, and the easy way is to start out with logoing, if you will, Bloomington, the name Bloomington. And whenever everyone loves to talk about the same wonderful things. I mean, the iconic, I love New York. Okay, well, unfortunately, that doesn't work here. The I am Amsterdam. That's another one. I think it's, is it Munich who does the big M, and each different department has taken it and can do the insight within. It's very stylized. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done. So one of the things I would say is think about Bloomington. What could you do with Bloomington? I mean, that patchwork quilt thing, as ugly as it is, or nondescript, does that really matter? What if you put that above the I? I mean, I'm not suggesting anything, or Bloomington, and then come up with something, in Bloom, whatever. So, I mean, I think we've got a lot of great creative minds here, and maybe that's a way for us to start just thinking about it, and then maybe opening it to the public to think about. Because I love consultants, but I swear to God, when I read everybody's websites, they should consult with themselves first. They were so.
Yeah, I think this is great. But I like, this kind of goes back to like, what is Carrie's office doing? And I think this is actually another priority for them. They are very interested in like what communications look like going forward, like what our brand, what our secret sauce, not my words.
Yeah.
Somebody else's words. I know they are doing that work. So I wonder if the right angle is, so they're doing that work. They are also putting together like a proposed plan for what community engagement looks like going forward, right? Like, what is the process and timeline for engaging with the public to get genuine feedback on any project in the city? So I'm wondering if the move here is, I'm happy to go ahead and give Jane, our department head, a heads up that this is something that we're talking about, but I'm wondering if the move here is just to get a better sense of what the mayor's office is thinking for this, and then just offer ourselves as someone who can provide feedback at that point in time. Because my fear is if we go too far along this conversation on our own, we're gonna find the mayor's office has done something completely different that didn't include our feedback, and or that just we just realized, oh crap, well, we just did all that work that they did.
Just simply, like, if we're talking about citywide branding, I think realistically the best you can hope is that the commission is consulted as a stakeholder group. It's beyond the remit of this commission. Like, practically, I don't think we should do any work on it, aside from just like recreational research until, the city says, yes, here's the pathway to engage and we're interested in it.
I'm talking about recreational research.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about saying anything other than that.
Sure.
Because,
And if we know that this is something that the mayor's office is working at, I could see maybe beginning to at least like synthesize our thoughts as a commission, and maybe like so that if they come to us in a relatively short time span, we've at least made like a draft of our thoughts.
But yeah, it just starts with why is this a priority? I think that's the big question you'll have to answer. Is like, why is this a priority?
Right.
That's a great
Yeah.
because we're starting, I mean, realistically,
Right.
look at the projects that are coming down the line right now. Look at Hopewell, okay? something's going to happen with the convention center. There's a lot of big stuff. And that if you don't have some concept, we're going to be back to the, what did Rob call it? The, the limestone. I can't remember what he called it, but it was very creative.
Oh God.
Well, Carrie's working on a vision, so we'll just have to, because Hopewell's not just us, it's literally the whole
No.
city, so, and they already have a branding thing, they have a green and stuff, so I think it's just gonna have to be
Yeah.
wait, slow and steady, get more policies, procedures, how commissions and stuff are gonna be running before we do anything.
I hear
Yeah.
what you're saying.
I think it's something that like the cultural plan could work into as well, like creating that kind of community identity and like what's the imagery associated with that? What are the actual designs that come with that?
Right.
So-
Because I think about wayfinding a lot as part of that, so that might be.
I mean, I see this as sort of like a step in, kind of like what we're saying about just trying to get our feedback in before something moves too far down the line. Just make sure that we have some like intelligent, coherent feedback to provide early on in the process. At least that's what I see as our goal.
We should get a graphic designer on the commission.
That'd be nice.
I gotta go to orbit, but Nick, Rachel,
Thanks.
you all.
See you.
Is that your Skype?
Oh yeah. Yup.
I really like that.
All right.
Yeah.
I think
Who else has thoughts, dreams, hopes?
I've got all of those things at any given time, and none at also any given time. But I think so. I know most folks know that outside of this, I'm the chair of Gallery Walk in Bloomington. And I think one of the big things that I've heard this year, and Chaz knows you've been to a lot of those meetings, is that I think a lot of the local galleries are feeling a little maybe neglected in some ways, or having some hard times like connecting with some of the initiatives that we've done here at the Arts at the commission and in other ways. And a lot of that is it's hard to connect a lot of communities together at once. But I do think I hear some of those concerns, and I like they're brought up so often that I'm like, okay, I am wondering if there's some ways to try to figure out, maybe with public art things, like I know Holly was talking about connecting some of these businesses with like more public art opportunities that are like, if you have this space, like here's an artist that we can maybe connect you with and pair you with a mural, and you have more traction coming to your gallery, to your shop, that kind of thing. But I'm like, that's maybe something to chew on outside of also the public art stuff, but it's just been on my brain, and I've been trying to think about other ways to figure out how to support some of these spaces. Like I'm thinking of spaces like Juniper, that's a newer gallery off of Kirkwood. It's a little farther removed from the square directly, but it's having a hard time getting more foot traffic down there. I know that there's more things being put over there that are kind of arts oriented or adjacent. But yeah, I think that also goes hand in hand with what Nick was saying too, of how to get people maybe outside of the like general like downtown spots, but also even, it sounds like we're even having issues getting people into the art spots in town too. So I don't know.
Just to clarify, when you say neglected, are you saying like galleries feel neglected like by the town at large, and it's like more of like a foot traffic and excitement thing, or like with like the commission and?
Yeah, I think,
how
and
engaged?
it's really different depending on the gallery that you talk to. We've got 12 of them. The ones that I think have voiced the most concern have been ones that are selling art in their space, and that are, kind of having trouble connecting to, they've cited like connecting to either younger crowds or not seeing the same crowds return. Like, I know we're all working through post-pandemic life, but also seeing those kinds of things, and also just seeing the same type of support from the campus and the community, which what I've tried to pin down a little bit what exactly that means, but I've had a hard time getting an answer out of
I
that
think
front.
for that particular problem though, Natalie, a lot of it is just like a communication thing, kind of what Babette's mentioning with branding, I think getting out the resources to them, because some of it's just they complain about the city, but have they ever approached me? Have they ever approached Holly? Have they ever gone to a commission meeting? I think it's like sorry to say that, but it's like they're people can complain all they want, but they need to also be able to find solutions or work with other people. And I think the most we can do on some of that is just try to partner or just try to at least get the resources out to them and say this exists. But they do need to do their part as well.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I think that is some of it, so I don't think that it's I think I just wanted to make that, because I've been to these meetings and sometimes I'm like people, I think just being more figuring out these policies and procedures and how a commission is, and how to better like get all the word out there about what we do, and connecting with more people is really important. And I think just giving them more resources and allowing them to kind of figure out how to deal with that, as well as still supporting art spaces, of course. But I also want to say sometimes I'm not sure people go about it. They don't realize that they can come to these art commission meetings and stuff and be able to talk more with other folks.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's really important. So I'm just trying to say that as you're saying that, I think it's just maybe also a marketing thing. I mean, it's true. Like, we have that problem at ESD in our department of getting out the word about what we're doing and who to go to. So I think that will probably happen with this new administration. I think it'll be a little easier to figure out the policies and procedures on how the public can get access to the city and the resources, and that obviously includes arts. But
and the website too. Like I feel like that'll.
I think that's a significant goal, is to help. Whatever that subcommittee is, met like twice. I've sat on that too, and I think that's there's a wide range of people in that group, including artists. I think that's one of the goals. Random question about Gallery Walk though. When artists do like open studio shows, so it's not like a permanent gallery space, is there an opportunity, or is there like a pathway for those artists to tap into the Gallery Walk network so they can be like a temporary step on the walk?
So before there wasn't, that's one of my like big goals for Gallery Walk this year, is making it more accessible. Like the dues are way too high, and we've lost some really like important galleries that just can't pay the dues. And also it's a lot of the conversations of like legacy galleries versus like what some of these new things that are popping up. It's choppy waters over there a little bit right now, but I would love to see that implemented. And I think that is a good way to like connect some of these emerging artists. Like if we start, we have so many, and I feel like I was citing those in those meetings of like, there's so many emerging artists here. They should be able to participate in this in some fashion that is not, you have to pay $750 every year.
It brings the younger crowd too.
Yeah.
And it keeps Bloomington healthy, because then they will eventually maybe have longer lasting gallery, or
They don't spend money.
Yeah.
So they will
problem.
someday. They will someday.
Yeah, but someday doesn't pay the rent this month. So it's,
But it's both important. You need everyone. You can't just rely on the people who have money and who are older to be there, because if you don't have the young people encouraged to stay in Bloomington and want to build their life here, you're not going to have a future. So it's like, it's all very important.
It also contributes to the thing that I think people who are not already comfortable in art spaces, the feeling they have that art, and especially like higher level galleries, are inherently elitist, and and if they feel like a gallery is only interested in an audience that's going to buy, that makes a good number of foot traffic feel unwelcome.
I don't know what it is or why, but everybody I know who sells a lot of art in the galleries in Nashville doesn't sell anything here in town. And it's just, it's bizarre to me.
Nashville's known as more of an arts colony, right? And so I'm wondering,
It's just
interesting.
I mean,
different clientele.
the average age in Bloomington, I believe, is under 30. You have the same circle of artists selling to the same community versus Nashville operating as like a weekend destination for families and retirees. I mean,
no, there's no question about vacation sells art when people are in that kind of mood. But but people from here who live here will go to Nashville to buy them and not buy them when they're here generally. I mean, it's weird. It's just.
With the time we have left, I'd like to hear from a couple other folks, but I think this isn't. I mean, this is something that I would like to maybe revisit at another meeting.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's a way to maybe bring a more specifically worded set of either like problems or issues.
I'm working on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and then you know, to the extent that maybe seems appropriate, we can, if not think of like specific things that we can do, at least sort of like I don't know, maybe like consider some feedback or something like that. Because it could be
Build half the bridge and invite a
Right.
couple members of Gallery Walk to come to a meeting and present.
To what Chaz was saying, this is not just a.
You have an
This group
agenda
needs to do
that you
more. I think this is
follow.
a two-way solution. So. Yeah, I think we have about like maybe 5-10 minutes left of this of a discussion. If
Susan.
Suzanne.
Suzanne.
Raising her hand.
yeah.
Oh, jeez. Who wants to read that?
Are we in a position to take a public stand against censorship of the arts, or do we need to fold into any position the mayor's office or city hall might take if they so choose? I want to suggest we make this kind of position taking one of our priorities, and it lines up closely with our stance on DEIA, etc. This comes up because I feel very concerned about the president of IU's recent decision to cancel a certain art exhibit, and what kind of precedent might be set if we do not speak up about this, as it is not restricted to the university, but impacts our community at large.
Can I answer just the technical part of this question? Yes, as a commission, you are able to make a statement. There is some boilerplate language I would need to share with you that says our position is not necessarily the city of Bloomington's position.
But the commission.
The commission can.
In
You
its
are
capacity.
you are a volunteer advisory board. You are able to do that. I cannot say whether I or the city aligns.
Holly
with
doesn't
you.
vote, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same with it's something like the
But not as a
The
private
wrong-
citizen,
yeah.
as a commissioner.
yes,
Okay.
yes, because you
Alright,
yeah.
Yeah, the Bloomington Arts Commission can say.
Yeah, and I think this is just broadly, this is the kind of advice I want to hear from you because you are my experts. You know, I trust you all. This is why you're here. So.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any thoughts about this?
I'm very interested in that.
I feel very strongly that art should not be politicized, and that but this is going to backlash all over the place on, I think on Witten. And if this was the only thing she was doing, I mean, she's annihilating. I think she hates art and music. So, but I personally would have no problem in a generic statement, not specific to taking a political position.
But I will tell you, with all of my art history classes that I got to do, I feel like the new sort of realization that anyone making art or thinking about art has come to is that either art is already like overtly political or it's not, which in and of itself is a statement sort of saying like, I'm privileged enough to not be thinking about the politics that might be, you know. So I feel like that's something that we might have to consider if we did come up with a statement, just recognizing that a lot of times people just make that, or that's how they're like receiving artwork these days. Like either, you know, I see that political statement and I, you know, note it, or I recognize that like this is being overtly like sort of apolitical, but that doesn't really exist. So just like.
That's very well taken and very true.
Oh.
But, so what are you gonna do? Take out every piece of German expressionism? I mean, you know, this is like burning books.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't think there's anything.
I think
that
Suzanne
should
added
be-
something.
I'm gonna read it aloud for Kat.
Yes, there you go.
If anyone wants to put something together, I'm happy to lead the drafting back in town Friday. At the very least, respectful clarification from IU if their reasoning would be appreciated.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Are we recorded?
Mhm.
Oh. I think her reasoning.
I'd obviously. I would have to step back from that statement, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need the full commission to be like on board to do something like that, or is it like?
If it's a statement from the commission,
Mhm.
then, like under those auspices, then yes, it would have to be voted upon.
Okay.
And there need to be some discussion as to whether it would be released as a statement from certain signees, with people having the opportunity to abstain, or whether it would have to be unanimous or not. I would lobby for the former rather than the latter, if you go that route. It also could be written, under the banner of like individual citizens who identify themselves as members of the Arts Commission. That would not be in a statement from the commission.
The petition that you sent around, that's an individual petition, correct?
And I also want to clarify, I sent that as a
Individual.
citizen, not a representative of the city. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the city hasn't taken any position.
Well, why don't this? Because we have people who are. Let's just Suzanne. We'll do that. Maybe let's move on to something else.
I think that's a good
Let's
point.
do-
Yeah, thanks for raising that, Susanna.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've noted this.
Oh, no, I mean, I was gonna say something entirely unrelated about grants, but,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But it's not really important.
Okay, I'd say let's maybe take one more, I don't know,
Christina,
point for this
look at
discussion.
you. Look, here's from you. Put you on the spot.
Didn't have anything that's up in my head.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think I can go ahead and say something to sort of close it out. I mean, I don't know that I have anything that's like radically new or different. I think one of the things that has resonated with what Holly has said and what's been I think spoken about beyond that is this idea of and this is BAC specific is making sure that we are using our role to be ambassadors, and that looks like a couple of different ways. One is like I think providing timely and coherent feedback, whether that's through statements, whether that's through presentations, or just like written documents for different departments or units or things like that. That is showing up to places and being there for both both the things that the BAC is supporting, but also things that the BAC is not supporting. But as part of the general arts community here, it is working to make sure that to the extent that we can, the understanding of what is public art, what is public, what is art, is, that the work has been done, that those resources and those definitions and that language is out there and easily accessible to people. I think those are I think, relatively like simple in kind of like their in their scope, but I think provide a foundation and a platform to really provide support, build community, and allow things to sort of grow on top of that. So those are kind of I don't know, what comes to mind when I think of priorities. So. But thanks all for giving your feedback. Kind of going into the next little sub bullet point I have. If you have any, any additional feedback comes to mind, feel free to send it to me. And this includes also we're gonna have more discussions like this at meetings going forward, and also bringing guests to either help lead a discussion or to present. So please send me any of those ideas, topics, names, things like that.
There's one thing that I wanted to mention. I was talking recently to some folks from the CRE, from the IU Center for Rural Engagement, and they were telling me that they've been meeting with other smaller rural towns that either have budding arts commissions or arts commissions that are that maybe don't even have them necessarily, but want some resources or want to hear more about some resources. I'm wondering if there's maybe something to consider would be figuring out how to talk to other regional arts commissions that are around Indiana or in towns like ours or smaller. I don't know how that necessarily works, or I know we have some really awesome resources that I've been able to share with them, like the Public Art Master Plan. And there's folks, it's just really cool to see other people using some of our resources as a model. But if there's any other way to facilitate some of those connections, that might be cool to prioritize in the next year, or as topics / presenters to consider.
Yeah, that's very good. One thing I was gonna say real quick, just because it reminds me, I don't know, a year or so ago, I did a presentation for an IAC, Indiana Arts Commission training on-ramp program.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it was about public art, and what I learned very quickly sitting in the room is that yes, there were artists in there, but also people from galleries or other arts commissions. I realized very quickly how fortunate and privileged we are to work with the 1% policy, which does not exist in most municipalities, especially smaller ones. And so, I think we take advantage of that so much. We take advantage of the momentum that just exists from the existing art community that I think part of that is helping those folks find other resources that they're not going to be able to get locally.
Totally.
That's a really good call.
All right, thanks all for your feedback and for those notes. All right, real quick on upcoming events and important dates. There isn't anything on that doc that takes place before our next meeting, so I'll just sort of gloss over that. But you can find the link to that here in the agenda. It's included in most of my midpoint emails. If you know of events that are, BAC or arts specific or arts adjacent, please put those in that doc so we can, so that we know that they're happening and can potentially have a commissioner go out there, make the effort to, to be there. Commissioner announcements. Move on to that. I'll get things started here real quick. Sneak peek behind the scenes. Next week, if all goes according to plan, the Arts Council, IU Arts Council, Arts and Humanities Council, we're going to announce an artist grant program through the Grand Falloon that's going to look kind of similar to the Public Art Master Plan, where I think the plan is to give out sort of a max of $1,000 to $5,000 total, I think, to artists to do sort of public art sort of in line with some of the general themes of this year's Grand Falloon. And so we'll be announcing that and taking calls over the coming weeks. So that's a new thing that we're doing for Grand Falloon. Fortunately, we have folks who know what they're doing in that realm, but that's the thing that I'm excited about. And gonna start, Grand Falloon season is upon us.
That's awesome. We're happy to help share.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll hopefully have some assets for that we'll be posting soon.
Great.
Once I have that, I'll send that
Put
out.
it in a newsletter. Stephanie will too.
I have nothing to say.
Anyone else have any? Chris,
No.
was that hand raised? Oh, no. Putting you on the spot again. Okay. Great. Well, there is no. I'll go ahead and close out the commissioner announcement. Oh, yeah.
I'm not a commissioner, but I want to say today I made a visit to McCalla, and I was very impressed. Alicia is amazing. She's the engagement coordinator over there, and I didn't realize, since it's been renovated, it is an awesome space, and it's very much for the community, as well as IU, and I want to really get out the message. I was really excited I came back and talked Holly's ear off because I was so excited. They just have 7 kind of small, medium gallery spaces if you haven't been there, plus a little screening room for film. And it's just really well done, and they have some really interesting exhibitions, and then they have this down the hall, they have this huge multi-purpose space that has a 4K projector and the ability to be an event space or a meeting space or a gallery space or a show, whatever. And so it's free for IU groups to use, or students, I would assume, student groups. I'm trying to get more, I need to get more information on what exactly they offer, but also she mentioned that we could utilize it as a city group as well, community groups are able to get in for free as well. So I really want to have an artist party there. I was even thinking for the Grand Balloon one maybe. I don't know. I know
Great
you have
artist
Center,
party
but
spot.
I don't know. Just it was really cool and really a really flexible, nice space. And so I'm gonna try to get out the word more about it on how it is a community asset, and it's cool to just go on a date night or take kids there or something. And just, that space is there. We all need more space for stuff, and that is a pretty big space. It can fit 150 people in there, so.
What's it called?
McCalla. I forget what the new name is, but it's
University Collections, I think is what it shows up on the map.
it's in the McCalla building.
School.
It's in the McCalla building. That's on 10th and Indiana, kind of.
Okay.
And it was renovated, and they used to have studio space. Yeah, and it has some classrooms in it as well. And it used to have studio space, my friends in college would have their MFA shows there. But anyway, it's really cool.
Barry Galt is having I want to say it's on the 13th, but I may have the day wrong. Anyhow, he's doing a whole workshop to show if anybody's interested in showing his technique and how he does a lot of very heavy imposter landscapes.
I would definitely join their newsletter because they're trying, Alicia said she was trying to really, they're trying to do more programming for the community, and I don't know, it had interactive stuff in each exhibit, which I thought was cool. It felt like a museum, it was really cool, and she was really nice, so highly recommend checking it out. Their hours were 12 to 5. But also that multi-purpose space could be a nice resource to have. So anyway, I'll hopefully share more information. I'm trying to work on getting that more solidified with what exactly they offer. But anyway, it was exciting.
There is no public today, so we're going to skip over the public comment. And this is the time to this is the time to say goodbye to our outgoing commissioners. Normally, goodbye, Rachel. Goodbye, Nick.
Well, thank you for being.
And like, I mean, Nick, to the extent that I know, is staying in town. But yeah, I mean, Rachel, you're leaving town.
So could Nick be a grant reader?
Yeah, if you ask nicely.
Yes, you can.
Can you come and can you come and like sit during our meetings and give some public comment?
Yeah.
It can be public.
Yeah.
Really fill up that public comment. Run out the clock to 6:30 every week. Yeah.
Will you bring a rat? Like the public works.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna wear a different costume
This
every
time a
time.
live rat.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
What? There's a story that I.
Well,
Someone bought a rat.
Somebody brought a dead rat to
dead,
the Board of
dead.
Public Works meeting.
oh my gosh.
What?
A dead
Oh yeah.
Anyway, thank you both.
Hold it out. Hold it out with a paper bag.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll miss
You might know who it is.
You can
It's not the
Yeah,
first
but
time he's
thank
been in
you.
the spot.
Yeah, likewise.
It's been
Oh my God, they got
a
it
pleasure.
there.
Yeah.
From what I gather.
All right, and with that, I'm going to motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Nick or Rachel, can I get a second? Okay.
Lila's got it.
All right, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks all.
Yay.